Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have to the latest from the live radar, run through the UK Met Office weather warnings, as we do have an upgrade to those warnings we saw yesterday. They've gone from just rain warnings to now rain and snow warnings. Not seeing a major shift in the positioning, but it is evident that the Met Office is now starting to acknowledge the wintry hazards that we'll be seeing next week, and I do think this will be one of many warnings to come next week for snow. Then have a look at the latest UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as the main wintry hazards next week will be arriving coincidentally with New Year's Day. It is looking pretty likely that somewhere across the British Isles we will be seeing significant snow on New Year's Day. I say somewhere because we still have massive uncertainty. The UKV puts this big area of snow further northwards across northern England and southern Scotland, but equally we've seen runs from yesterday evening and other operational runs showing the snow even across southern England, all due to the positioning of this area of low pressure. So yeah, New Year's Day looks like there could be some blizzards in places. In the subsequent days, though, once that low pressure system clears, as we'll see from the longer range charts, we are now looking pretty likely to go into a pretty severe and prolonged cold spell for the first week, maybe even 2 weeks of January. Now, we had a bit of a wobble yesterday with the longevity and the severity within especially some of the operational runs, but today they're all on board with at least 7 days of very cold conditions, potentially even longer. Of course, with these sort of scenarios, there is always a little bit of uncertainty. So we'll look at all of those operational runs and, of course, look at the ensembles at the end of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well. The link's in the description. Now, if we start on the live radar, again, another day where there's very little evidence of any major cold arriving. We still have this big area of high pressure sat over the top of us like we've had for pretty much all of this week. And it has brought a very foggy, miserable, drizzly and cloudy Christmas period. Now, yes, it's not been major in terms of precipitation, which is always a positive, and temperatures were initially milder, and they've turned a bit colder the last couple of days with a stronger inversion taking place, but in the grand scheme it's not been too terrible. But I know most people, though, will be wanting a change and already starting to see those comments on social media of people saying it's, where's the sun gone? It's been cloudy for the last week or so. The sun will be returning, and we can already see across northern Scotland a few showers coming in, and this is symbolic of a change in air mass, that air mass being slightly drier with some clearer skies. So we are going to see some sunshine, we are going to see some blue skies towards the end of the weekend in towards Monday. Coincidentally, a couple of days before that very cold air does arrive, and it will be northern areas that does see that change first. So if you're out in the far southeast, unfortunately still probably another day left of all that cloud and gloom. Under all that cloud and gloom, you can see it is cold. Temperatures this afternoon, especially across central areas. Surprisingly, down towards Kent, it looks like there's a very cold patch. Again, probably coinciding with dense fog patches, which really hold those temperatures down at the surface. To be honest, I'm pretty surprised we've not seen other warnings issued for fog, as visibility has been very poor in quite a few areas. Temperatures low single digits once again today in these spots where you can see those lighter blues. And of course, I'm recording this around lunchtime. This is the peak of the day for temperatures, so they're not going to get much higher than what we're seeing right now. Further northwards, the air mass is actually colder, but because we're seeing a bit of sunshine, because we're seeing mixing of air, we've not got this layer of very cold air trapped to the surface, it is actually slightly milder at the surface level. But you can see across much of northern Europe, lots of fog patches and lots of just really cold, stubborn, low cloud. But it will be clearing in the next couple of days in anticipation for that very cold northerly wind that will be arriving or next Wednesday and Thursday. Now, if you go over to the weather warnings, we have got that warning issued for Monday and Tuesday. There's actually been a wind warning also issued, a very localised wind warning here. Again, this could be expanded, but it's for the higher ground of northern England. Again, we'll look at these a little bit more extensively, probably through tomorrow, as I don't want to go through them too much, because I do anticipate these changing quite significantly. But just to highlight them, we have got this wind warning issued for 7 hours on Monday. Again, it's medium likelihood, lower end of the impact matrix, and again, it's kind of 50-60 miles per hour. So strong winds, but nothing too severe. And then we've got this rain and snow warning, which has been changed to now include snow. And you can see it's because we're going to see a lots of rain through Monday and Tuesday, potentially significant snow above 150 to 200 metres. Now, this is not the potential blizzards arriving on New Year's Day. This is a weather system arriving before that. This is a weather system that introduces slightly colder air, but the very cold air arrives on the back edge of the system that moves through on Wednesday. So this is not kind of major disruptive snow that we could be seeing. This is kind of the preliminary over higher ground. As I said, more disruptive snow could be arriving Wednesday and Thursday. So as I said, we'll look at these warnings in a little bit more detail in the next couple of days. As I do suspect these will change quite significantly, and I think we'll see a lot more warnings issued Wednesday through to Friday next week. Now, if you go over to the latest UKV, you can see the clear skies are slowly arriving for northern areas through this afternoon. Again, it's not blue skies everywhere. It's just breaks in the cloud with a few showers as we do see a transition in air mass. Now, that slightly brighter conditions will push in further southwards through Sunday. And look at this, we could actually see a bit of a dry slot. And by Sunday afternoon, it could be much brighter across southern areas. So as I said, about 24 hours left of the gloom, but all areas within the next sort of day or two should see a little bit of sunshine, hopefully actually coinciding with daytime. Hopefully it doesn't just arrive overnight. You can see the weather front arrives for Scotland through Sunday, and this is just slowly starting to shift us from very mild to slightly colder. Now, of course, the air mass is changing by about 20 degrees at 850 HPA over the next sort of 3 or 4 days. Now, it's not all happening at once, and that's why we're going to see these repeated weather fronts slowly bringing us down those notches towards those much colder conditions. So this is actually just moving us from very mild to slightly fresher air, but actually nothing too remarkable. That weather front slowly edges southwards, a bit of snow on its northern edge under that cold air, and especially over higher ground, but nothing too major. And this is where we do see eventually into Monday with a bit of reinforcements, with a more sophisticated low pressure system arriving. This is where we could see that snow through potentially Monday and Tuesday as this does clear. But as I said, nothing too significant widely. Definitely over higher ground, but low-lying areas, coastal areas, nothing really to write home about. However, as we transition later in the week, Tuesday, more heavy rain and some heavy snow arrives, but again, most are to the south of this weather front, which means we're in the milder air. But as we transition into New Year's Day, we do see cold air digging in for all on the back edge of this low. Look at this, much colder northerly winds arrive, and you'd think here we're going severely cold, northerly winds are going to dominate, but no. Into New Year's Day, we see another low pressure system arrive from the southwest, and this is where we have significant uncertainty. As said at the start of the video, some runs have this low pressure system skirting through the channel. Some runs have it going through central England, the Midlands, northern England, and the UKV here has it through northern England and southern Scotland, and see what happens when it interacts with the very cold air. Significant snow for Northern Ireland, northern England and southern Scotland. No problems with it falling as snow here, as we have exceptionally cold air digging in. -10 isotherm very close by, but equally the +5 isotherm 50 miles further southwards. So it just shows you the massive temperature contrast is contributing to how heavy the snow is, but also is introducing milder air, which means it becomes a bit more marginal. But as I said, runs have this slightly further northwards, quite a few have it further southwards, and even some have this band of snow across southern England. So if you're looking at this and thinking, missing out on the snow once again, it's all going to Scotland and northern England, don't take this as gospel yet. We've still got another couple of days where this could shift, and history tells us these sort of low pressure systems coming up against a very cold block do trend southwards. So I wouldn't be surprised if this big block of snow was actually across northern England, the Midlands, maybe even hinting and pushing into southern England. For it to capture the southwest and the far southeast, right along the south coast, we'd need a substantial shift, which might be a little bit out of the realms, given this is 4 or 5 days away, but I would not rule out this shifting significantly, as history tells us these systems do move quite a lot on approach. Sometimes we even see these systems smashing southern England and the Midlands a couple of days before, and they drift all the way into France come the actual event. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but at the moment, UKV has it across northern England and southern Scotland. And you can see it's all snow event. No rain to snow or snow to rain. It's all snow as we have exceptionally cold air digging in on the back edge. And then as we head into the 2nd of January, you can see all snow inland. And it's because we've got this exceptionally cold air digging in on the back edge. Potentially even some snow further southwards, even in this scenario, as we have got cold air trying to undercut the weather front. But regardless, the subsequent days, we're all going into the absolute freezer, and it's going to get bitterly cold. Dew points, look at that, widely below freezing. So in the subsequent days, we'd have no problem seeing further snow. Just we're going to see potentially a bit of a lack of precipitation as it does move into a more of a northerly flow, and we don't see any of these big weather fronts. So yeah, potentially a massive snowmaker there into New Year's Day. We do look at the new snow depth. We're not just talking about higher ground. Sometimes you can see the UKV here really highlighting higher ground. Yes, higher ground would likely see a bit more precipitation because it is higher ground. We see relief rainfall, relief precipitation in this scenario. But regardless, pretty much everywhere that gets impacted by snow here, especially Northern Ireland, Northern England, Southern Scotland, seeing somewhere between 10 to maybe as much as 40 centimetres of snow. So absolutely burying places here for the first day of January. As I said though, could shift further southwards. Now, if you look at the max temperatures, you can see through this afternoon it's very chilly across much of England and Wales. 3 or 4 degrees, but it's an inversion. We're not seeing particularly cold upper air temperatures. If we do look at those upper air temperatures, they're actually still exceptionally mild in the far southeast. Just that inversion, keeping those temperatures down. Into Sunday, temperatures will be slightly higher as we do start to see that transition to that northwesterly flow, more towards 8 to 10 degrees. Actually, air mass is cooling down, but at the surface, it actually turns slightly milder. Into Monday, temperatures across Scotland really starting to cool down, especially northern Scotland, touching freezing in many areas. And this is because that cold air just about gets a foothold on the British Isles, but doesn't push southwards for another couple of days. You can see as we head into Tuesday, still exceptionally cold across northern Scotland, but in the south, 9 or 10 degrees. Feel like a bit autumnal here, if we're being honest. But then look what's happened as we head into New Year's Day. Exceptionally cold across northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. No issues here with seeing significant snow. Look at that, southern England, 12 degrees, showing you the humongous temperature contrast. 15 to 20 degree temperature contrast here at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, and eventually all of that cold air. You can almost see that cold air wrapping in on the back edge of that low. And by Thursday afternoon, most will not be getting much above 3 or 4 degrees. And in the subsequent days, I wouldn't be surprised to see many, many ice days as that cold air does dig in. Now, I have been talking about Wednesday in quite a lot of detail, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. We could be seeing significant cold conditions in the subsequent days. Difficult to say about snow beyond Wednesday, just because it is longer term, and a lot of it will be convection based, and that is exceptionally difficult to predict, even at 3 or 4 day time frame, let alone a week or so. But we can see that it is looking likely to be very cold. You can see that initial low arriving through Monday there, another low there through Tuesday. Those are what the warnings are issued for at the moment, and the cold northerly winds starting to push in. But then you see the New Year's Day system. Here, the GFS again has it kind of across southern Scotland and northern England, and then exceptionally cold northerly winds pushing in. Now, I said, don't take these runs as gospel, and that's because, look at this, the 6 p.m. run from yesterday has that low across southwest England. Significant snow here because the Midlands, southern England and Wales. So that's why I did say, don't take that UKV, that positioning of that snow, as literally because it could shift quite substantially. You can see there runs shifting around by a couple hundred miles. So we'll have to wait and see. And of course, I think the next couple of days we'll have a look at some of these high resolution runs, looking at this in a bit more detail. Beyond that, we do see those very cold northerly winds arriving, a little bit of flattening in the flow, but we stay in cold, higher pressure. And this is where some runs yesterday and the subsequent days had shown perhaps a westerly flow building in. But the GFS and most other runs are a little bit more encouraging today with keeping that high towards Iceland, and we see the wind veer from more of a northerly so northeasterly, and potentially even a flat easterly. Now the high pressure is a little bit more dominant on this latest GFS, but other runs have got a bit more of a stronger easterly flow with perhaps even colder air arriving. But eventually by the end of the run, we keep that high pressure involved and it just remains very cold. But it does remain probably snow-free, or at least falling snow-free, because we start to see milder upper air temperatures taking over as we do cut off those northerly and easterly flows. But with this big high here, it's allowed an exceptionally cold pool to arrive across Eastern Europe. And again, if we saw that easterly flow return, then it could turn even colder once again. But regardless, we have exceptionally cold air here for the first full week of January, eventually losing its strength around the 10th of January or so. But even then, I still think it would be very cold at the surface. If we zoom in, you can see 2 metre temperatures are still pretty chilly, still low single digits at best, just slightly milder because we are cutting off that very cold flow. But regardless, this GFS run is slightly milder than some other runs, especially that longer term, cutting off the easterly wind, but still 8, 9, 10 days of cold, if not very cold conditions there for all. Now the GM, as I've continued to say, has been pessimistic with its outcomes of out towards day 10 especially. But once again, today it is very cold. It is pretty much on board now with very cold conditions. Again, that low arrives on Wednesday. And look at this, it's across central England. Nowhere near as severe, it's not quite as distinct. But look at that mass. Unfortunately, we don't have the exact snow amounts, but we do have significant snow here for the Midlands, North England and North Wales. And of course, into the Republic of Ireland as well. So GM, not in southern England, but definitely further southerly in terms of its track. And interestingly, look at day 7 to day 10. The high pressure's not sat over the top of us. It's towards Greenland, so it doesn't cut off that northeasterly or easterly flow, and it remains exceptionally cold with upper air temperatures around the -5 to -10 area. With a northeasterly flow, not only the temperatures would be very cold at the surface, being the coldest time of the year, early January, but it would also keep winteriness coming in, and you can already see this low pressure system here reloading those northerly winds, potentially seeing another batch there for the middle of the month. Now again, these models may be overhyping this colder spell, especially in their longer term. I don't suspect the next sort of 7 days will change drastically. Still could change quite a bit in terms of exact temperatures, snow, etc. But the overall pattern looks fairly locked in now. Out to day 10 though, this sort of time frame, we could see substantial changes. But if we believe these runs today, we are looking at a significant and lengthy cold spell, and one we haven't seen in a number of years for this time of year. Now to finish by looking at the ECMWF, which is very cold as well. We see those low pressure systems trying to push in over the next couple of days. That low for New Year's Day here is similar to the GFS across northern England and southern Scotland. Very cold into the subsequent days with northerly winds pushing in. Again, that high is kind of in between the GM and the GFS. It's still close enough that it is blocking off the Atlantic and really pulling in easterly winds. Very strong easterly there in the south, but eventually it slowly topples in. But then look, right out to 312 hours, it retrogresses back towards Greenland, and similar to the GM, it attempts to reload those northerly winds. I could see a second batch of exceptionally cold conditions. Now again, it doesn't usually happen. We normally see the high pressure break down, but every now and again, like, biggest example I can give is December 2010. That wasn't just one continuous cold spell. That was a cold spell, 5 or 6 days, 1 or 2 day lull, and then it reloads. And that is kind of what we're seeing here from some of these runs. As I said, I'd emphasise, it doesn't mean this will definitely happen. Just says that the models have shifted quite drastically in the last day or two from just showing a colder spell, 5 or 6 days, to something perhaps a little bit more prolonged, a little bit more significant, and potentially something that could be very noticeable compared to the past few years. And finally, if we compare to the ensembles, just to make sure these operational runs aren't completely out of the realm of possibility, hovering around average or slightly above average the next 3-4 days. Significant drop there on the 1st of January. Again, timing of that drop will make all the difference, whether we see snow here in London or at least in the Midlands, southern England there, on New Year's Day into the 2nd. And then you can see the upper air temperature line there for about 5-6 days is persistently -5 or lower, being dragged up slightly by some of these milder outliers, but the majority of runs are exceptionally cold. And you see the operational run is one of the coldest runs, but it's got a lot of support, lots of clustering, and to be honest, it is hovering around the mean line. So if you take that GFS operational, that looked pretty severe. Again, other runs last day or so have been worse, have been colder, but that was pretty bang on with a long-term cold spell, and you see it's kind of hovering around the ensemble mean. So you've got very strong support. Yes, there's still quite a few milder outliers, a lot of milder runs still appearing, especially longer term, but you can't ignore the big clustering we have around the 1st to the 10th of January for something significant, prolonged, and most importantly, unsettled. That would mean that not only would it be cold, frosty, icy, but there would be snow around. Doesn't necessarily mean significant snow, but snow would be around. And if we look at those new snow depth, lots of small spikes. Again, they're all looking small because this one significant one through the 1st into the 2nd. This will be one of those runs that produces the blizzards right on top of London. 30 centimetres of snow here. That would bury the southeast, if we're being completely honest. Probably won't happen, but interesting nonetheless. But lots of snow spikes. So I do think there is quite a high chance we see some snow for pretty much all in the next couple of weeks. Again, it's difficult to say all because somewhere in the far southwest, for example, might escape that. But definitely a pattern that could give snow for all. Looks like it will arrive. And look at those 2 metre temperatures. Huge drop in the next couple of days. If you think it's cold at the moment, it's going to get much colder next week. And the ensemble mean, when you take into the milder outliers, the milder runs, still only 3 or 4 degree max temperatures. And dew points all below freezing. Again, encouraging if you're looking for snow. And I think more importantly, if we go to Glasgow, very similar upper air temperatures, all well below average. But look at these significant spikes. And look at the snow spikes here. A lot of runs, about 1/3 to 1/4 of the ensemble members here, producing 10 plus centimetres of snow. That is significant territory. So yeah, we could be looking at quite a big snow event there on Wednesday, just trying to figure out where it is at the moment. Most likely Northern England, Scotland, maybe the Midlands, but can't even rule out further southwards as well. And finally, if we compare it to the ECM WF, look at that even stronger clustering. Of course, the operational run is one of the colder runs, but it is not too far away from the ensemble mean. And you see the majority, similar to the GFS, around the 1st, 2nd of January through to around the 10th, are very cold and potentially very wintry with high precipitation and 2 metre temperatures, even colder than the GFS, 1, 2, 3 degrees at best. And again, ensemble members aren't even the best at doing temperatures. 2 metre temperatures, that is, again, high resolution microclimate details normally can bring those down a little bit colder. So yeah, does look like we've seen quite a substantial shift in the last 24 hours. Not only is it looking pretty likely now that we do see a pretty severe and potentially prolonged cold spell, but we are looking at potentially some significant snow on Wednesday. Not just an idea that a couple of runs are showing, it is looking pretty likely that somewhere does see significant snow on Wednesday. Just now need to determine exactly where. But yeah, big low pressure system moving in, so wherever that snow falls, there could be 10, 20, 30 centimetres. A foot of snow could be possible. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.